Chapter 5. 2 days? Emerie shrieked.
You got a bloody problem with that?
One of the guards bit back.
You and these circus clowns will be staying in the 2 rooms upstairs of our tavern.
He spat as he waved around at the auctioneer and his entourage, along with the 3 men who had fought alongside her during the chaos.
You'll be provided breakfast and dinner while you stay, and either released or incarcerated after the investigation concludes.
She knew he hadn't just meant the trio of oddballs that stole her future during the chaos earlier. He was including the 3 members of the traveling auction as well. All of us in just 2 rooms? You must be joking.
Sorry, Missy. We're a small village and don't get a lot of pass-throughs. It's a wonder we have an inn at all.
Sounds like a good deal to me,
the bird chirped.
I don't have any fear of being found guilty, so a night or 2 with a roof over my head won't ruffle my feathers any.
I'll ruffle your feathers, you overgrown parakeet! Emerie bared her teeth at the winged ranger. Not all of us have the luxury of being a wild animal with nothing better to do than sit in a tree and hunt mice all damn day.
Excuse me?
The bird retaliated. You heard me, jackass.
I find your use of language to be quite unbefitting of a lady. You should really watch your tongue. Enough!
The dragonkin finally spoke, his voice just as gruff as everyone had expected. Everyone turned to look at him, shocked.
The humans want to hold us here, and we're not getting out of it unless we kill them, and I'm sure none of us want to do that.
His voice was deep and rough, but somehow soothing and hopeful, despite his quiet threat.
Let's just keep our heads down and cooperate, at least for 1 day.
None of you understand, Emerie said softly. I guess it doesn't matter now. She bit her lip. She almost felt like crying, but she hadn't let herself do that in years. And sure as the hells wasn't going to now in front of these people. Fine, she sighed. The guards led the strange bunch to the local tavern, the Hog Tie Inn. The 4 fighters would go in one room while the 3 adventurers would stay in the other. Emerie was quietly seething as they walked to the inn. She wouldn't be humiliated like this. She wouldn't be made to stay here. She was a professional thief and assassin, the best around. She would hang around long enough for everyone to fall asleep, and in the middle of the night, slip out of the window and be untraceable before sunrise, but perhaps not before killing that bird in his sleep. Eric would be disappointed, to say the least, to see Emerie return without the orb. If she could just talk to him, just convince him that they could track the monster that wields it, she could still get him that artifact. It just might take a little more time and resources. He would not be happy to hear that. Eric was a man of efficiency. If he had to delay his other ventures just because she messed up, she would never hear the end of it, and she could kiss that deal of theirs goodbye. If he was serious about letting her out of her contract before, there was no way he would agree to that now. She would figure out how to talk her way through that later. For now, she simply needed to get by and collect as much information as she could from those salesmen before her escape tonight. Upon entering the tavern, the brightly lit walls made her eyes sting for a breath. To say the building was small would be an understatement. The ceiling felt like it was encroaching on them, especially as she noticed how close it was to the 7-foot-tall dragonkin's head. They were led up a worn staircase just left of the tiny bar. Once to the top, there were 2 rooms on either side of the cramped hall.
You fool.
The guard pointed to the would-be warriors that fought through the chaos in the tent.
You'll be staying in the room on the left. The rest of you clowns can take the room on the right. We'll have men stationed downstairs and some outside too, so we'll know if you try anything. Otherwise, you're welcome to mingle as you wish. There's refreshments downstairs as well, but we'll be charging double for the duration of your stay. Help yourselves if you'd like.
He left the 2 groups there and marched back down the stairs. Were these guys complete morons? The prisoners weren't disarmed. They were allowed to communicate with one another, and they weren't even shackled or under too tight surveillance. If the 7 of them were to craft a plan to escape or discuss their alibis for the investigation, there would be no stopping them from doing so. It would be so easy for her to leave tonight. Too easy. The 2 groups split off and ushered themselves into the rooms. Look here, Emerie growled once they were all inside the cramped space. I'm not interested in anything any of you have to say, so keep to yourselves and stay out of my way. For one of you, she glared at Falcali. If you cross me again, it'll be the last time. Got it? Her icy gaze met his. With that, she walked to the corner of the room, where stood one of the two beds. The one closest to the window, pulled out a book from the pouch tucked underneath her cloak, dropped herself down, and began reading. Falcali scoffed.
"I've never met such a crude woman,"
he said loud enough for the room to hear. Emerie didn't even glance. The dragonkin approached the others and asked,
"So what brought you two to the tent?" "Honestly," the bird started, "I was worried about my woods being in danger, but before I knew it, I was rushing in to join the fight." "What about you?"
His attention turned to the shorter man who had been silent all this time.
"Falcali told me that I might find someone here who could get me home. When we heard the shouting, I just followed him."
Falcali. That was the name of the man who had taken Emerie's future. She would remember it, and she would curse him for as long as she lived. A few hours passed. It was late when the cataclysm in the tent erupted, so it was probably approaching midnight now. Everyone was still awake, however. Emerie kept a close eye on the trio sharing her space, but none of them dared approach her. They were all still so alert. Did none of them sleep? She thought to herself. Having elvish blood meant that she wouldn't tire easily and could quickly recuperate in comparison to other races, so she had little concern for her own sleep. But for the rest of them to still be up. They must either be particularly stressed out or used to this, she supposed. She stood up. "I think I'm going to take my business elsewhere. I have a few questions for the ones next door."
"I'm going with you,"
the dragon man said. "That won't be necessary," Emerie coldly remarked.
"You guys can't just walk out of here,"
Falcali interjected.
"I don't want you causing any trouble."
Spoken like a true bird dog, Emerie thought. She never much cared for authority figures, especially those who didn't deserve it. And he certainly had no authority over her. He had none at all. "Did you not hear the guard that left us here? He said we're welcome to mingle amongst ourselves," she said with a sweet venom.
"Sure, he said that,"
Falcali responded.
"But you don't think he meant for us to stay in our assigned groups? Why else bother separating us between rooms?"
"Because," she huffed, "the others traveled together, and they only had 2 rooms. Are you that dense?"
"I still don't think it's right for you two to leave us here and walk in on their quarters,"
Falcali asserted. "Oh, and I suppose you're going to stop me?" She raised an eyebrow and gave him a deadly smile.
"Tch,"
he scoffed as he backed down and turned his head to the side. "That's what I thought." Emerie sneered as she smiled again. "Besides," she paused, "no one said you have to stay here. Just try not to stick your beak in my business," she reminded him before she strode out the door, the dragonkin following closely behind. Before he left, he also stopped at the door. With his sunken blue eyes, he looked at the pair they were leaving behind, his eyes filled with something like sorrow. It looked like he was going to say something, but decided not to as he shut the door and followed Emerie. Emerie had already made her way down the short hall and didn't even bother knocking as she opened up into the room where the auctioneers were staying. Upon entry, she saw that 2 of them, a tall human woman and a young, tan felinid, a cat person, both lay in a bed, asleep. The boy was curled up at the feet of the woman. There, by the window, stood the short, gray-skinned man from before. Emerie wasted no time marching straight to him. Forcibly grabbing the collar of his colorful robes, the dragonkin arrived in the doorway just in time to see. "Speak," she demanded. He just flailed his arms, words failing to escape his lips amidst the gasps for breath. "Now," she growled as she pulled him closer. The man swallowed hard and exhaled.
"I didn't know things were going to be like this,"
Moxie cried out. "Where did you get that orb?" She said it more like an order.
"We found it, I swear. We heard that it was magical, but I didn't know it was dangerous."
The man was clearly fighting back tears. "Where?" Her voice wasn't any less intense, despite the fear in his.
"Just inside the ruins of Disampos,"
the man cried.
"A patron from a previous showing told us where to find it. She said it would add a splash of magic for our buyers."
The man's face was twisted in pain and sadness. Emerie knew he was telling the truth.
"I didn't know she meant this,"
he gasped.
"That poor girl."
The dragonkin was watching the brutal interrogation from the door. "The girl the monster took?" Emerie inquired. The man nodded.
"Yes,"
he said.
"Jubilee is her name. She's only 14 years old and has already been through so much."
The man began to whisper.
"Her mother abandoned her when she was very young. Her father, the mayor, he doesn't like to talk about it. No one has seen the woman in at least a decade."
He groaned and huffed.
"I knew that frog was trouble."
"The frog? The monster that took her," Emerie surmised. "What do you mean?" Emerie asked. Moxie's face twisted, and he remained silent for a moment. "What are you talking about?" Her voice cut through him as she pulled his face closer to hers.
The
man struggled to speak, moaning and tossing about as Emerie held him in place.
"During our travels one day, we just stumbled across him,"
he said.
"He did seem scary, but he didn't attack us. I think it began following us after that, though. We started seeing it almost daily in our travels."
"And you didn't think to hire a bodyguard? Or maybe a mercenary who could kill it?" Emerie snarled as her words spilled onto the man's face.
We wanted to kill it, or at least escape it somehow. But we're not fighters. We didn't think it deserved to die for simply being curious."
"Curious?" Emerie snapped. "You led this monster straight to my target!" She inhaled sharply and shook her head. "Its target," she reiterated.
"All right,"
Tazeth called from the door.
"I think he's had enough for now. You're scaring the others,"
he said gently, motioning to the tannish tabby boy who had awoken from the noise and was now on all fours growling at the assassin.
"Leave him alone!"
the cat boy shouted.
"It's okay, Abder. You can stay out of this,"
Moxie said.
"She's right. I should have known better. This is all my fault."
Emerie looked back and forth between the adventurers, all of their faces shocked and somber. They were already frightened, and she had only made it worse. For a moment, the room fell silent.
"It was a ball frog,"
they heard a voice say from the hall. Everyone turned to the door. Behind the golden-scaled dragonkin, Falcali stood, a serious expression on his face.
"That creature you let follow your little parade? It's called a ball frog,"
he said.
"And the reason you haven't seen one before,"
he glanced briefly at Emerie,
"is because they're not from here. At least not anywhere you would reasonably have been."
Emerie whirled, turning to face him. "And how would you know of where I would reasonably go?"
"I'm just making an educated guess here, but I'd be surprised if you've been that far under the earth before,"
he retorted. Emerie just stared at him, waiting for him to go on.
"Far, far to the south, beyond the ice barrier and the floating islands, is a giant ravine. The Twins' Crater, some call it. Many believe that the goddess Lunaze formed our planet's moons from the crater and the deep chasmic interior that now serves as the walls of an ancient mine, Lunar Hollow."
"Get to the point," Emerie interjected. Falcali paused.
"My point is that one day, monsters started emerging from the depths. Most of them stay below the surface, like an underworld full of devils. But every so often, there are sightings outside of the cavern. But there have never been any spotted in the north. They've never crossed the ice barrier. It's impossible. So the question remains, where did you find this creature?"
The man just shook his head.
"I swear, we encountered it south of the capital, in the plains between Ephasus and Dion." "Then someone had to have brought it there,"
Falcali muttered, like he was thinking out loud.
"Or summoned it, somehow."
His expression became more serious as he said it. What did any of this mean? Emerie just wanted some information about the orb. She was worried about the girl, but there was no way she could save her. Could she? No. It wasn't likely they would ever see her again. And she had no business being caught up in these stories of myths and monsters. But with the knowledge she had gained of this ball frog creature, perhaps she could use that. She could narrow her search and find him, and with it, the orb. Her freedom could be salvaged yet, and she was going to take it.